Welcome to The Explainer, where we love to break down big topics. Today we're hitting one that, well, it affects millions of us every single day: ergonomics.
All right, let's just jump right in with the question. Think about it. At the end of a long workday, are you just tired? Are you actually sore? Believe me, there's a huge difference.
You know, that ache, that's not just part of the job. It's actually a sign that something's wrong with the design of your work. And the solution? Well, it's found in this really important field called ergonomics.
So what is ergonomics, really? When you boil it down, it's pretty simple. It's the science of making the work fit the worker instead of forcing the worker to fit the work. And when you get that right, everything gets better. Safety, comfort, and yep, even performance. And you can really see the difference here. On one hand, you've got poor ergonomics. That's all about awkward postures, bending your neck, constantly reaching for things, just nonstop strain. But on the other hand, with good ergonomics, your body is in a neutral, natural position. Things are close by, you're not doing the same exact motion over and over again. It's a night and day difference.
So what happens when we ignore this stuff? Well, that's when you get what are called musculoskeletal disorders, or MSDs for short. And these are the real culprits behind that chronic pain. We're not just talking about being a little stiff. This is actual damage to your muscles, your nerves, your joints, things like back pain, carpal tunnel syndrome. It's serious stuff with long-term effects.
And the scale of this problem? It's honestly kind of shocking. Look at this number. In some manufacturing sectors in India, we're talking about 60 to 80% of workers dealing with MSDs because of poor design. That is a huge majority of the workforce. This isn't just a small issue, it's a massive, widespread problem.
And here's a really crucial point. This isn't just about feeling good or being healthy. It's actually the law. The Occupational Safety, Health, and Working Conditions Code from 2020 makes it clear. Employers have to provide a work environment that's free of hazards. And that absolutely includes the ergonomic hazards that lead to these injuries.
Okay, so we know the problem. How do we actually fix it? Let's get into the core principles of safe design. These are really the building blocks for creating a workplace that's not just safer, but also way more efficient.
All right, let's break down these principles, starting with the ones that are all about your body. First up, neutral postures. The goal is to keep your body naturally aligned, no hunching. Think adjustable workstations. Second, we want to minimize force, reduce the physical effort. This could be as simple as using a power tool to help out. Third is optimal reach. Keep the things you use most often right up close so you're not constantly stretching. And fourth, and this is a big one, is adjustability. Because let's be real, one size does not fit all. We need chairs and tables that can be customized for different people.
Okay, now let's zoom out a bit. Task variety is huge for preventing repetitive strain. You can do this with things like job rotation schedules. Then there's the environment itself. Is the lighting good? Too noisy? These things really matter for comfort and focus. And finally, it's not just physical. Cognitive ergonomics is all about reducing the mental load of a task, making things simpler with clear instructions or visual aids. This cuts down on mistakes and stress.
So all these principles sound great in theory, right? But what does this actually look like in the real world, on a factory floor? Let's dive into how companies put this stuff into practice.
The key thing to remember is this isn't about some huge, expensive overhaul that happens overnight. It's often about using smart tools for continuous improvement. Things like Kaizen events, which are quick, focused projects to redesign a workstation, and probably the most important tool of all is participatory ergonomics. What's that? It just means you involve the workers themselves in the process. Who knows the job better than them? Their input is absolutely gold.
And you want proof that this stuff works? We've got it. Let's take a look at a fantastic case study from an auto plant in Gurugram. They were facing some pretty serious ergonomics challenges.
So what was going on there? Well, their workers were stuck with these fixed-height workbenches that just didn't fit most people. This was leading to a ton of MSD complaints, especially neck and shoulder pain. And you can bet that when people are in pain, it doesn't just affect their safety, it tanks morale and productivity too. So they came up with a really smart three-step solution. First, they assessed the situation. They actually used risk assessment tools to figure out which tasks were the most dangerous. Step 2, redesign. They put together a Kaizen team that came up with adjustable tables and tilted fixtures, smart. And finally, step 3, implement. They rolled out the new workstations, threw in some anti-fatigue mats, and even started rotating jobs. And the payoff? Wow, just look at these numbers.
MSD reports dropped by a massive 60%, and productivity? It went up by 20%. This is the perfect example of how investing in your people's well-being isn't just an expense, it's one of the most best investments you can make for your business.
Okay, seeing results like that is super inspiring. But I know what you might be thinking. That sounds great, but where do we even begin? So let's talk about that. Let's break down some practical first steps.
Before we get to solutions, let's be real about the challenges. For a lot of businesses, especially smaller ones, the first thing that comes to mind is cost. Then you've got resistance to change. People are just used to the old way. And sometimes it's as simple as a lack of awareness that there's even a problem to begin with.
But here's the good news. You don't have to boil the ocean. You can start small with low-cost, high-impact changes. I'm talking about things like anti-fatigue mats for people who stand all day, or tool balancers to take the strain off heavy equipment. Even just training your supervisors to spot risks and getting your team involved in assessments, these things are incredibly powerful and don't break the bank.
So, there you have it. That's our deep dive into ergonomics. As you can see, it's so much more than just comfort or ticking a compliance box. It is a genuine, powerful strategy for building a healthier, happier, and way more productive workforce. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What's the one small change you can make tomorrow to start this journey?